May prosperity flow like water. May unity strengthen our nations. And may every African story inspire the world.
Channel Afrique vous accompagne dans cette célébration. Que l'espoir illumine notre continent.
Que as vozes de África ecoem com orgulho.
Ustawi na ufanisi na vitiririke kama maji.
From all of us at Channel Africa, we wish you and yours a joyful, successful, and prosperous 2026.
Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Radio started with a single signal and a simple idea to connect the people through sound. Now, over the years, it grew from analog to digital, from local airwaves to global streams, and today into the world of artificial intelligence. This World Radio Day, we celebrate radio and AI, honoring where we come from and embracing where we're going. Now, don't miss the upside, who will share the mic with Zimbabwe's Kulumani FM to unpack the impact of AI on radio, and later, African Diaries for a celebration of the evolution of radio. Celebrating World Radio Day 2026.
Africa Update, your daily dose of African insights with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa. From local studios to cross-border conversations, from traditional broadcasting to artificial intelligence, radio has always connected people. This Radio Day on Channel Africa. Join us for a special collaboration when On the Move crosses to Ikwekwezi FM from 9 till 12. And The Upside connects with Kulumani FM from Zimbabwe from 1 till 4 p.m. Central African Time as they talk about the evolution of radio. This World Radio Day, it's radio and AI, honoring where we come from and embracing where we are going. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Stella Longwe pamalonje.
Apa ndikatswiri oyimba wa dziko la Zambia ameneyu ndi Isaac Zulu. Isaac, apa pali nyimbo imene munayimba yomwe ikuti Manda Ambeta. Nyimbo imene imakamba zotani?
Nyimbo imeneyi ndinayimba zona ndikuchoka pasi pa akakuona ma situation yena amene amachitika makamaka kukhala chikulisa achinyamata kapena azibambo chita azibambo so kambiri chimapezeka kuti azibambo bena aliko amene amakhala ndi mitima ankhanza osadziwa mosamalirira banja kuti wachikondi wanga ndifuna kukhala naye mnjira yotani kuti moyo wake ukhale wosangalala. Ndino zimafika pena zoti mwina wachimayi walemedwa nazo nkhanza za munthu wachimuna kapena kuti abambo khala nawo pa nyumba ena amafika pa mtima pokamba mawu kuti ine munthu amuna anga pondikwatira ananditenga ku makolo sanatenge musi mwa mtengo. Ndiyeno ni safe chifukwa cha chikondi kulibe manda ambeta ngakhale tapita ku manda wina akafa munthu wokwatira kapena osakwatiwa sipamalembeka kuti pafa munthu amene sadalepo mbanja.
Tengati wamphamvu kuti iyayi azibambo azisamalira bwino akazi osachitira nkhanza komanso azimayemera kuona mazunzo iyayi kulibe manda ambeta.
Malonje pa nthawi ya 6 koloko kufikira 7 koloko madzulo. Lowiruka ndi Stella Longwe.
Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time.
Today is World Radio Day. The day is celebrated to highlight the impact of radio in informing, educating, and connecting people worldwide. The theme this year is Radio and Artificial Intelligence, focusing on AI as a tool for innovation in broadcasting. And for more than a century, radio has positioned itself as a medium of free speech and a connecting avenue for grassroots communities. At least 3 billion people globally listen to radio weekly. Asanda Beda spoke to Lungile Mbinza, the SABC's Chief Operating Officer.
Lungile, let's start then with what this day means for you. World Radio Day. It's commemorated and celebrated on the 13th of February, annually having been declared by UNESCO. But then also in reflecting what the day means for you, maybe let's get to know you better and you share with us your journey into radio.
Okay, so I grew up in a very small village towns of the Eastern Cape. And at the time, it was a privilege to listen to radio. And there used to be a radio that was called Radio Transkei. And I listened to that, but I always wanted to listen to another radio station, which was also supposed to be available to us, but it wasn't available all the times. It used to be called Radio Kosa. And I remember my mother coming from Cape Town, because she was raised in Cape Town, bringing us a unit that was having what was then called medium wave. And on that medium wave, then it had Radio Xhosa. And then I would then access Radio Xhosa. I would have the Afrikaans radio station, as well as the Sotho radio station. And we felt like we were like the kings of the village at the time, because we could at least tell the stories. We would know the scores of the football games, we would know the scores of the rugby games. We would follow most of the commentary over the weekend on our radio station, and everybody will come and congregate around a radio as a medium. And I still can't believe that it's as important as it was in the 1990s and 1980s, this medium that's called radio. So it's just such an influential medium that, we should just continue to nurture and ensure that it continues to bring the good to us as the audiences.
Right, and how powerful is it for that audience, the reaching in diversity of audience? And you mentioned some of that, as the closer culture, or that particular part of the continent also being represented as growing up. How powerful is radio in reaching diversity of audience, and not just for our continent of Africa, but worldwide?
Look, with the SABC, I mean, we reach over 27 million listeners weekly. And that includes, everybody in South Africa, in our SADC region, as well as the rest of Africa and the rest of the world. It is telling the story. If you have any message that you want to get to your people, radio is still the best mode during the day, because that's where people, they tend to gravitate towards. It's either they're listening to their music, and then also just trying to catch up on their current affairs, and then obviously the latest breaking news, as well as other news items on the current affairs side.
And that was Lungile Binza, SABC Chief Operating Officer, on the line speaking to Asanda Beta.
Technology changes, the human voice remains. This World Radio Day, celebrate radio and AI. From local studios to cross-border conversations, from traditional broadcasting to artificial intelligence, radio has always connected people. This Radio Day on Channel Africa. Join us for a special collaboration when On the Move crosses to Ikwekwezi FM from 9 till 12, and The Upside connects with Kulumani FM from Zimbabwe from 1 till 4 p.m. Central African Time, as they talk about the evolution of radio. This World Radio Day, it's radio and AI, honoring where we come from and embracing where we are going. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Africa Update on Channel Africa.
It is 12:16 Central African Time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. As the 39th ordinary session of the Assembly of Heads of State and Government kick off in Addis Ababa on the 14th of February 2026, it remains to be seen if diplomatic and commercial ties between the United States and the continent will feature during discussions. Analysts say while U.S. President Donald Trump is not set to attend the 39th annual meeting of the African Union, his presence will still be felt as delegations from 55 member states grapple with the new disruptive reality of the United States president's second term. To discuss this further, we have on the line the regional analyst, Areba Omoyo Samba. Areba, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Good afternoon from Nairobi. How are you?
Well, very well, thank you. Hope you're also doing well. Now, President Donald Trump's historic cuts to foreign aid, his overhaul of U.S. trade policy, his sweeping changes to immigration admissions have also had an outsized impact on the African continent. Do you think this will feature during discussions at the summit?
Thank you for having me. Of course, it is going to be a very critical discussion. If you have looked at the theme of the conference, or rather the summit, it has nothing to do with the discussion that we're having today here. But as it shall be, and we are watching, definitely the recent happenings in the United States of America are going to find their way into the flow of the summit at the AU. Whereas the theme is to do with issues of accessibility of water and all that, but as you have clearly outlaid it, the United States of America being the big brother of Africa and being the big brother of the world, and they say whenever it sneezes, everybody catches a cold. So we have seen a number of decisions which have been made by the President of the United States of America, which have affected a number of African countries, a number of organizations, and the most recipient and the most benefactor of most of those agencies which funding has been cut are African countries. So definitely those discussions are going to be on the floor. They might not be in the main agenda paper, but I expect them to be there. Issues to do with the cutting of critical funding to UN agencies. The closure of a number of, we had the USAID, which was the biggest disbursement body of aid from the United States of America to African countries. So definitely these are going to be part of the discussion.
And let's speak about the impact of, the policy change towards towards Africa as a whole. How then should African leaders, react, and what ideas should they have going forward? The plan of action, because clearly nothing in reality, nothing seems to be changing or going towards any change.
The President of the United States of America has always been advancing this mantra of America first. And it has seemed to resonate with a number of people. And he is saying that, hey, you cannot destroy your countries, then run to the United States of America to try and live. And he kept on saying the US taxpayer is not going to fund people who are working in other countries who seem to be living better lives than the US taxpayer. And if you look at the past 10 years, there has been a discussion of moving from aid to collaboration. So it's now time that African heads of states relook at this particular mantra and say, hey, let us not look at other countries which are going to be giving us aid. Let us look for partners at the global stage. So for me, the call for action and the point of action from the summit is trying to have the African countries trying to synergize the potential that they have so that any other country that is coming as a partner, not as a helper. That is the overall call for action and the point of action that needs to come out of the summit. Remember that African countries enjoy rich deposits of minerals, rich deposits of natural gases, good climate, favorable weather. All this, if harnessed well, then they can be able to give a number of these countries a negotiating edge at the global stage.
Just other key issues that need to be put to the table during the summit.
Sorry, I missed that question.
What other major issues need to be brought to the table during the summit?
Of course, as I've clearly stated, is we have a number of cross-border conflicts between a number of countries within the region. We have a number of issues, and remember that a number of countries within the region and within Africa at large have gone into elections in the recent past. And there is need to have a discussion about the democratic the democratic space and the issue of voting within African countries. Remember that our big brothers from the West, one of the biggest issues they're accusing us is that we have a guided democracy, and we don't seem to have a proper democracy. Of course, we have the issue of unemployment. We have issues to do with a bulging youth population with nothing meaningful to do. And I pick these issues, of course, from where I operate from and the region I operate with, and I know they're mirrored across Africa. So those heads of states have to really relook at a number of those issues, because why then there is need for dependency, the dependency syndrome, is because we have not harnessed the potential that exists within our countries, and we have not harnessed the youthful population which we have, in terms of how are we going to make use of it positively.
Well, Areba, thank you so much for joining us on Africa Update. We are going to leave it there for today.
Thank you so much.
That was regional analyst Areba Omoyo Samba speaking to us from Kenya.
60 years of stories and sounds. Channel Africa, the African perspective. The sound of Africa is evolving. Experience our new mobile app, free to download, free to connect.
The whole population of Africa has been shocked to the depth of its soul.
For 60 years, Channel Africa has been the voice that connects the continent, telling our stories and sharing our vision with the world. This year, we mark 6 decades of broadcast excellence.
60 years of stories, sound, and connection.
6 years of African conversations that matter.
This is 60 years of broadcast excellence.
Broadcast excellence. Rooted in Africa's heartbeat and looking boldly into the future. Join Channel Africa as we celebrate 60 years of broadcasting. Still strong, still vibrant, and still giving you the African perspective.
Channel Africa.
Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
It is 24 after 12 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. Our Save the Children has warned that children displaced some of the worst flooding across southern Africa in decades and are facing a growing health crisis with a lack of running water and destroyed sanitation facilities fueling a spike in waterborne diseases. Heavy downpours across several countries in southern Africa have affected more than 1.3 million people, with houses and critical infrastructure destroyed, disrupting access to health and education services. The rainy season is expected to continue for at least another month. And for more on this, we are joined on the line by a Director of Programs at Save the Children, Megan Breeder. Megan, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Thanks very much for inviting us.
Now, Megan, is this the worst flooding that Southern Africa has seen in decades?
I think it definitely is. And I think what makes it worse is that it doesn't seem to be abating. So it's not stopping. We've seen before massive flooding, and then you have a time off, a reprieve. But it seems like it just keeps on coming. Since about November, we just see constant flooding across the different regions.
Now, take us through the impact of these floods on children. We don't have a lot of time, but just highlighting what each country is going through in terms of also figures.
Great. So I think the biggest hit country is Mozambique for sure. They've had at least 844,000 people displaced. And of course, that leads to disruptions in education, children living in temporary shelters, increases our risks of child safeguarding, and then, like you said, increases the risk of waterborne diseases like cholera. Also, particularly in Zimbabwe, they've seen a massive spike because of the flooding in malaria as well. In South Africa, about 19,500 people displaced, or property or people's homes damaged, large infrastructure damage, roads, over 300 roads just destroyed, health facilities, education facilities. So the impact on children is vast. Zambia, you're looking at about 4,000 households affected, and their biggest challenge has been massive damage to agriculture, so to crops. So now you have increasing threats of hunger, malnutrition for children in those areas. So each country, due to their uniqueness, have different impacts, but overall, of course, children are the most affected.
And how are you supporting the children affected by these floods?
So across the countries mentioned, Save the Children South Africa has relief response, either through the programs will vary depending on the country, looking at assisting families to access safe water, so bringing in water tanks, water filtration systems, distribution of food, blankets, support within your temporary shelters, particularly around issues of child safeguarding. These are times when children are at their most vulnerable, and we need to make sure that they are not exploited, especially children who have been separated from their families. So we do a lot of work there, and also looking at your early childhood development centers, helping restock them and helping rebuild where necessary.
And what strategies are needed to address this as Southern Africa? We will continue to experience erratic weather patterns, as you've already highlighted, due to the effects of climate change. But do we really have a plan?
Well, we really need a plan. Each country needs their anticipatory action plans. And as the NGO sector, what we tend to do is we work with local-based organizations to try and develop anticipatory action plans, make sure that the community is well prepared, they understand the threats, and they are able to respond timely as soon as challenges happen. At a higher level, we need to be talking about climate change. And we need to be working as governments together to look at what do we do to contribute or address this crisis that we have. You know, the oceans are warming, which means there's more moisture, which means there's going to be more rain. It's not going to stop. But at the same time, there's deforestation, so there's no way to capture the water. There's more urbanization. So it really takes us in the Southern African region pulling together to come up with strategies as countries for climate change.
And just on the ground, with your team interacting with these young children, their families, and just seeing these children and what they're going through, how do you then deal with that? How do you have conversations to make them feel better and to not feel overwhelmed and just shocked at everything they're experiencing?
So I think the most important thing is to have people who are trained and able to deal with trauma. Losing your home through a flood of this nature is very traumatic, and knowing that people around you have lost their lives. So we need to have trained counselors who can be present to do trauma debriefing for those families, and also just our community change agents, which are more volunteers, who are actively there just to hear and listen to a child or even an adult when they do need to talk through what has happened.
Well, Megan, thank you so much for joining us. We are going to leave it there for today.
Thank you very much.
That's Megan Breeder, Director of Programs at Save the Children, joining us on the line. It is 12:30 Central African Time, and our news headlines up next.
Get Channel Africa on DSTV Audio Bouquet. Channel 802. SABC News. Headlines. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Lulu. Good afternoon. Making headlines. Kenya is grappling with a worsening drought that is devastating livelihoods across nearly half of the country. More protection is on the cards for whistleblowers in South Africa. Many frequently risk their lives, careers and mental well-being to expose illegal acts, including corruption, when confronting powerful organizations or individuals. And finally, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party has secured a landslide victory in the first election since a student-led uprising deposed the long-time authoritarian leader. I will have details on these and other stories at 1 o'clock.
SABC News. Headlines. The African Perspective. Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
We bet off with cricket news. Zimbabwe have caused the biggest upset so far at the ICC Men's T20 World Cup in India and Sri Lanka. They beat the mighty Australia by 23 runs in the Group B match in Colombo to remain unbeaten. Zimbabwe, who were put into bed, posted 169 for the loss of 2 wickets, with opener Brian Bennett scoring an unbeaten 64 of 56 balls. They then bowled out Australia for 146 in the final over of the match. Man of the match, Blessing Muzarabani, took 4 wickets for 17 runs in his 4 overs. Zimbabwe's next opponents are Ireland, and that match takes place in Kandy on Tuesday. On to football news. The Confederation of African Football, CAF, 2025-2026 group stage reaches a thrilling finale this weekend, with 4 of the 8 quarter-final places still to be decided, as the final round of matches promises high drama and intrigue across the continent. The top 2 teams in each pool move on to the quarter-final stage. Group A has already confirmed its 2 qualifiers, but the battle for top spot remains a prestige prize. USM Alger lead the way on 13 points, and host Morocco Olympic Safi, who sit at point back on 12. In Group B, 3-time champions Wydad Casablanca top the pool on 12 points, and host Tanzania Azam, knowing a single point will secure first place, but the permutations are more complex than they first appear. DR Congo Maniema Union also sit on 9 points and are expected to target maximum points against already eliminated Nairobi United in Lubumbashi. And Group C has its qualifiers confirmed, but the order is still up for grabs. CR Belouizdad lead on 12 points and host AS Otoho in Algiers on Sunday with a draw enough for the Algerians to stay top. Otoho, however, have already shown they can head Belouizdad. They won 4-1 in the reverse fixture, and any victory this time would be enough to take first place. Stellenbosch FC and Tanzania Singida Black Stars are playing for pride and to avoid bottom spot. Now, tennis news. Well, number 2, Iga Swiatek crashed out of the Qatar Open, losing their quarterfinals to Maria Sakkari. Top seed Swiatek fell short against a revitalized Sakkari, who rolled back the years as she clawed her way back to a nervy 2-6, 6-4, 7-5 victory. The Pole had won their last 4 matches, the most recent in straight sets in Qatar last year.
I mean, I'm speechless because it's been a while since I had, a big win like today. I'm just, when you drop in the rankings and you're not playing good tennis, you start, doubting yourself, and you're thinking that you are never going to beat those players again. So, it's a huge process that you have to, go through in your head that, you can do it. And, last year in the second round here against her, I was not confident. I was not believing in myself. And this year, it's different. I have to say, I feel quite, I feel a lot better.
For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us to +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, Figure Ngwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Channel Africa is moving with the times, and so is our WhatsApp line. We've changed our WhatsApp number, making it even easier for you to stay connected. Send us your voice notes, comments, shout outs, and song requests to our new WhatsApp number, +27 83 288 6684. That's +27 83 288 6684. Save it, share it, and stay in the conversation. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Business news on Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Good afternoon. Ghana has cut its farm gate cocoa price paid to farmers, aligning it with the international market to spur more demand, and announced a new financing model for bean purchases amid a raft of other measures aimed at supporting farmers following the plunge in global cocoa prices. The world's second biggest cocoa producer has been struggling to pay farmers as global cocoa demand has fallen sharply, leading global prices to a halve over the course of a year. to 2-year lows of around 4,000 a metric ton. Ghana's farm gate price, set annually by market regulator Cocoa Board, was nearly $5,300, which has depressed demand from international traders, leaving farmers unpaid. Africa global mining investors discuss R1 billion deals in Cape Town, South Africa this week. A gathering at St. George's Cathedral is exposing the environmental and social impact often left out of the corporate narrative. The 17th alternative, Mining Indaba, serves as a direct challenge to the industry, insisting that the extraction of the country's wealth must finally serve the people. The alternative Mining Indaba is headlined this year by the 100-year debt campaign, which demands reparations from mining giants for a century of community dispossession. Spokesperson Hassan Logart.
Mining has a history in our country of over 150 years. So that means we're going to the colonial period, we're going to apartheid, and that for years people have been moved without any participation. It has not improved dramatically under our new progressive government. This means that we have no real vote, no real say to a yes or no to mining. It gets imposed upon us. Many of our townships, Indian, colored and African, we live near to mine dumps or the dirt, the waste of mines. So this is the compensation we want, but ultimately it's beyond financial compensation.
A major South African bank has launched a dedicated solution for the country's 11 million Stokvel members. The aim is to formalize and digitize the multi-billion rand informal savings sector. A Stokvel is an informal community-based savings club or credit union. Members contribute a fixed monthly amount, which is then distributed to individuals in rotation or saved collectively for specific shared goals. Himal Pabru is the bank's CEO of Cash Investments.
This new Stokvel account is a fully digital account that allows groups to interact together and save together at no cost and no monthly fee, and earns them a great interest rate. It will both help them and strengthen them. And doing this, it allows them a secure way as a group to interact with the bank. And that is one. In the past, groups could not, as a group, come together and see what's happening in a Stokvel account. Now a group can come and open and see.
Chinese automaker Great Wall Motor GWM says it's ready to hit the ground again in Europe with hybrids and combustion engine models after previous attempts sputtered. This is part of its ambitious plan to double overseas sales to 1 million vehicles by the end of the decade. GWM plans to set up a European factory to make 300,000 cars a year by 2030. Requiring close to 100-fold growth in sales. And on a lighter note, pop star Taylor Swift has asked the U.S. government to stop a bedding company's attempt to trademark the phrase Swift Home, saying it could mislead consumers into believing she had endorsed their products. Her legal team argued that the way Cathay Home has styled the word Swift in its branding closely resembled the singer's trademarked a cursive signature. Cathay Home says on site that it sells products through major retailers and had applied for the Swift Home trademark for its bedding items. $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira 353, Botswana 12.99, Kenya 128 shilling 11, and Zambia 18 kwacha 70. The BRICS countries in Brazil's dollar there will cost you 5 ruble 19, Russia 77 rubles 13, India 90 rupees 59, China 61.90, and in South Africa the dollar will cost you 15 rand 90 cents. 73 pence to the British pound and 84 to the euro. Gold is trading at $4,956. Platinum, $2,018 per ounce. Brent crude oil is at $67.42 a barrel. For any business stories you would like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business in Johannesburg, I'm Tabisolo Hoku.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. We are on Open Views Audio Bouquet. Channel 628. Africa at Play with Neto and ETO Chemane.
Lelinhle, talk to us about your relationship with your father, Coach Pitso. What is this one thing that he said to you that is still stuck at the top of your head?
Coach Pitso and our mom, Moira Tlhagale, have always told us that whatever we do in life, we must do it to the best of our abilities and, represent our family well. But the big thing is do what you love and do it with all the passion that you have. And I think we see it in both their work. I mean, my mom has done a really good job with placing Coach Pitso in different clubs around the world, and she's negotiated contracts, and she's showing that as a woman you can also do work that is seen, and you can also get respect from men in a male-dominated space. And I think my dad has also shown that you must never underestimate the Black African man.
Lelinhle Mosimane, a South African communications and digital media professional. Lelinhle is also a daughter to a great mentor when it comes to the game of football, Coach Jingles Mosimane.
Live every Saturday and Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. Your window to the continent and beyond. Africa Update. Only on Channel Africa. Channel Africa. The African perspective.
It is 12:43 Central African Time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has vowed to wage war on gangs in the Gauteng and Western Cape provinces and end the country's devastating water crisis and raise 2 trillion rand of investment in the next 5 years. Now, these are some of the promises he made in his 20-page State of the Nation address delivered in Parliament last night. Ntebo Mukobo has more.
President Cyril Ramaphosa's annual address to the nation was a report back on the progress made to grow the economy, end poverty and create jobs, as well as making South Africa a better place to invest and to do business.
As we reflect on the state of our nation, we can say that we are stronger today than we were a year ago. Our economy is growing again, and this growth is gathering pace. While we have experienced 4 consecutive quarters of GDP growth, it has to grow much faster to meet our social and economic challenges. We have achieved 2 consecutive primary budget surpluses. Our credit rating has improved. Interest rates are coming down, and inflation is at its lowest level in 20 years. We are on a clear path of stabilizing our national debt. The rand has strengthened against the dollar.
After painting a picture of a glimmer of hope of better things to come, the president was also alive to the difficulties the country is grappling with. He was unrelenting on government's failure to provide safe, reliable and clean water, insisting that serious interventions are in the offing.
We will hold to account those who neglect their responsibility to supply water to our people. Government has already laid criminal charges against 56 municipalities that have failed to meet their obligations. We will now move to even lay charges against municipal managers for violating the National Water Act. The critical problem is that in many metros, water revenue is being used for other purposes, and very little is invested in upgrading and maintaining water infrastructure.
As President Cyril Ramaphosa's annual address. It is 12:46 Central African Time.
Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time.
In Madagascar, Cyclone Gezani claimed the lives of at least 36 people, injuring more than 370 and destroying almost 18,000 homes in the 24 hours of the cyclone battering Madagascar. Madagascar's president has declared a national disaster and has called on international leaders to help the largely poor Indian Ocean island. And just last month, Madagascar launched its first ever humanitarian hub funded by the European Union and the World Food Programme. We have lost our guest, and we are going to try and get him back on the line as soon as possible, because this is a very, Cyclone Gazani has really done a number on countries like Madagascar, especially Madagascar, and we just want to unpack exactly, what has happened with regards to the current situation in Madagascar and, the food systems in the country. What sort of impact has Gazani, given the people of Madagascar? And we want to know, and hopefully Tanya will be able to speak to us, because this is very key in finding out what is happening in Madagascar, which is part of Southern Africa. It is 12:47 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa.
From local studios to cross-border conversations, from traditional broadcasting to artificial intelligence, radio has always connected people. This Radio Day on Channel Africa. Join us for a special collaboration when On the Move crosses to Ikwekwezi FM from 9 till 12, and The Upside connects with Kulumani FM from Zimbabwe from 1 till 4 p.m. Central African Time, as they talk about the evolution of radio. This World Radio Day, it's radio and AI, honoring where we come from and embracing where we are going. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time.
In Madagascar's WFP Director Tanya Hussein joins us on the line. Tanya, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for the invitation.
Now, Tanya, are you able to just shed some light on the current situation in Madagascar? This is following Cyclone Gazani.
Yes, in fact, in the space of 3 weeks, what we've seen in Madagascar is 2 back-to-back cyclones. So already we had Cyclone Fitya that made landfall in the northeast of the country at 31st of January. And then just earlier this week on Tuesday in the evening, we had, of course, then Cyclone Gazani that made landfall in Tamatave, which is the second largest city here in Madagascar.
And how have the floods impacted the food systems in the country?
So what we're seeing right now, and these are initial estimates, that overall about 400,000 people have been affected by both cyclones. And there has been a difference in the sense that Cyclone Fitya particularly brought a lot of rainfall and thus flooding, whereas with Gazani, what we saw instead were very, very strong winds. And that's where we've seen incredible, of course, destruction of Tamatave. The government is estimating that about 80% of the city has endured damages. So, of course, that is, that brings huge concerns in many ways, right? I mean, we have, I think, about 5% of electricity that is currently functioning in Tamatave. There is no water. Trees have come down. People have lost their homes. I was actually there yesterday, and what we've seen is basically, people on the streets trying to recover the little of what's left of their homes. Some still have their homes, but the roofs have been blown off, and actually it did start raining yesterday. So of course, in a city without electricity, without water, the potential for disease outbreak is, of course, is great. These are very vulnerable people. Of course, we're also concerned about protection when it comes to women, to children, to the elderly, to people with disabilities. Many people have also been injured, and the hospital was seriously damaged. Schools have been damaged. And then, of course, as WFP, we're very concerned about people's access to ensuring their food. Right? That is where we are extremely concerned because, of course, again, the logistics are very complicated in a situation such as this. And what we have done, of course, is as WP already prior to the cyclone, we were able to implement anticipatory actions through cash transfers to help people, get some initial, resilient activities to prevent, further damages from the cyclone. But now, of course, post-cyclone, we are very concerned about the food insecurity and indeed, the difficulties in getting food in, which is again why we're resorting to cash transfers in this initial phase. We have some rice and high energy biscuits that we are distributing through the government, but certainly access is quite difficult at the moment.
Now, Madagascar launched its first humanitarian hub funded by the EU as well as the WFP to strengthen emergency preparedness and response to crises for the cyclone-prone eastern and southern coast. Now, would you say the hub is able to meet the current needs following Cyclone Gezani?
So so indeed, having a logistics hub and this kind of humanitarian hub in the country, it has a lot of benefits. It does help us in time of crisis to reduce response times, and certainly the hub was chosen to be built in Manakara, which is on the southern eastern coast of Madagascar, which is a very cyclone-prone area. So when the hub was created, it was a very strategic location, also because there is an airstrip. So again, it can accommodate planes and helicopters, and it has a very large storage capacity of about 1,000 tons. So this is very much a hub that is available for the southeastern coast, and is of course a model that could be replicated in other crisis regions. In this case of Cyclone Gezani, what we saw is that initially the trajectory was going towards, was actually heading south, and then it turned and headed towards Tamatave, which was, of course, then unexpected. So in this particular case, we are responding to Gezani, but not through the hub in Manakara. I must say this is actually the beginning of the cyclone season. So having that hub in Manakara is certainly still very critical to our response times, because, unfortunately, it is very likely that the southeastern region of Madagascar could also very well be hit by severe storms or cyclones in these coming months.
Well, Tanya, we have run out of time and are going to have to leave it there for today. Thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
That's Tanya Hussein, Madagascar's World Food Programme Director, joining us on the line. And we say a happy Friday to Tebogo Kuleni. How are you of the Upside team? It's pre-Valentine's. What's happening?
Yeah, no one really pays attention to Valentine's. It is International Radio Day today.
Radio Day, yes,
right?
it is.
That's a very important day. Not Valentine's Day. So we'll be crossing over to our friends in Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
Kulumani FM will be joining us in the final hour of The Upside to talk about the impact that AI has had in the media space, particularly ours as on-air and radio personalities. Has this changed the way that we go about our content creation, the way we, share our stories online with social media? We now have it on television as well. We talk about the impact of AI, and that amongst other things. We're going to have a DJ coming all the way from Mozambique, and just a shout out to the people of Zimbabwe, because today in the men's T20 World Cup,
I know, right?
They beat Australia.
And Australia is what, number one ranking? What's their ranking now?
They are round about there. I think if it's number one, top 10, top three,
top five.
Yeah, somewhere.
Top five. Yeah.
They are a top flight nation, and to have won against them. And I was watching that game from ball to ball, and I said, "My goodness me, what a victory that was!"
Yeah. Wow.
So shout out to Zimbabwe.
All right, that's the Upside coming up at the top of the hour with Tebogo Kuleni and Matseko Mosito. We continue on Africa Update.
You heard something you like on Channel Africa, and you would like to hear it again. Worry not, we've got your back. Just go to our website, www.channelafrica.co.za, and look for our podcast.
On a lighter note, ahead of Saturday's Valentine's Day, love looks different in 2026. According to Google's latest search data, people in South Africa are rethinking Valentine's Day. And this year, the focus has swung from candlelit dinners to creativity, self-care and connection. According to the global search engine across the country, interest has spiked not only in classic romantic gestures, but also in friendship, personal well-being and imaginative experiences that bring people closer ahead of February the 14th. Tutongo Beni has more.
It seems the days of frivolous Valentine's Day dates are no longer a big deal as global search engine Google reveals that South African users are redefining romance with their searches from galentines to AI chefs. Valentine's Day, also called Saint Valentine's Day or the Feast of Saint Valentine, is celebrated annually on February 14th. It originated as a Christian feast day honoring a martyr named Valentine, and through later folk traditions, it has also become a significant cultural, religious, and commercial celebration of romance and love in many regions of the world. Google's latest search data reveals that people in South Africa are rethinking Valentine's Day, and this year with the focus swung from candlelit dinners to creativity. Across the country, interest has spiked not only in classic romantic gestures, but also in friendship. Siya Madigane, Communications and Public Affairs Manager at Google, says people are looking for original ways to mark this day.
Obviously, the different ways and the different ways to celebrate love is what changes, and we're seeing it as well this year, that people are now, as I said earlier, that are looking for creative ways in which to celebrate this year, and so we're finding more queries around what to do. So is that making a card, whether they're looking for that authentic way of celebrating their loved people. People are saying things to do around Valentine's. This is a very exciting period of the year. People are celebrating love, and people are looking for creative ways in which they can celebrate every year with their loved ones. So anything from candlelight dinners to creativity, self-care, and connection. Really just some of the key things that are being searched by.
In the past month alone, Galentine's has emerged as a breakout search term, with people seeking gift, outfit, and decor ideas to mark the day. From Galentine gift and cupcake ideas to little girls' Galentine's party, women are finding joy in celebrating their tribes. The rise of Galentine's suggests a cultural shift where all forms of love are celebrated, not just romance. Searches for Galentine's Day, a celebration of female friendship, on February 13th jumped by 20% this year, which Matikani says the word is the breakout term for this year.
Galentine's is currently really like the trending search because every year we always get that breakout term, which is a term that's been sort of searched around 5,000% more than the previous year. And Galentine's this year has seen quite a shift in terms of 20% more searches than last year. So it remains the breakout term this year, 20% more. And people are really excited about celebrating friendship, and it takes place today.
And that's how we wrap that report by Tuto Ngobeni. That's how we wrap Africa Update today and for the week. It's been a good one. And thank you for joining us. Continue with us on all our social media platforms, and happy World Radio Day. Bye-bye.
Tune in and turn up the volume. This is Channel Africa.
Well, a big thank you to Lulu Gaboo and team. Join them again on Monday, same time, same place. It's now time for The Upside from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Central African time with me, Tebohole Kuleni, and Matseko Mosito as we celebrate World Radio Day. But first, let's get the latest in news.
SABC News.